Pretty nice though. I'm gonna go way out back by the woods. You know those purple flowers back there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get some. Isn't that pretty?
You'd think somebody would go back here and pick some for you.
Right. Smell. Smell.
They do smell pretty good.
I'll leave the scissors right there on the table. You can go cut your own.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday evening. Took a couple days off this weekend to kind of relax and re-energize. Pretty well wore out. Been going wide open throttle and video and everything and editing everything and uploading everything, and just kind of got burnt out there. I needed to take a break, so took a couple days off this weekend. Went live Saturday night for a little bit for everybody, but we're back at it. So today I did a little dirt work, started a job, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and about the time I started it, monsoon season hit. Whatever. So it finally dried up enough over there to go do some decent dirt work. So I went and did a little bit of that this morning. Didn't video that because I don't figure anybody cares two shits about my dirt work, but we're back tonight. Billy's got his valves adjusted, the cylinder heads are on. It's ready to prime it with the oil pump, and I ran into some snags with this intake manifold. The new 18-degree intake manifold is 2 inches taller, or an inch taller, I should say. It's about an inch taller than his old intake. So his old intake used a 2-inch spacer. So since his new intake is an inch taller, we had to switch to an inch spacer instead of the 2 to keep the carburetor at about the same height, so that most of his cold side kit will still match up to the carburetor. So in order to make this 1-inch spacer work, I had to run the spacer up to my uncle, and as you saw in the opening video, he chucked it up on the Van Norman and drilled a couple holes and tapped them. One's for the vacuum port and one's for a inlet air temperature sensor. So we've got that done, and then I come across this little problem. I got to take it back up, and we got to move the air intake temperature sensor because it interferes with the carburetor linkage. So as you can see there, that's not going to work. Daggone it. Didn't have that problem when it was 2-inch spacer, but now since it's an inch spacer, we got that problem. So I'm gonna have to take this spacer back up to my uncle and have him move the temperature sensor from the side to the back here. No big deal. We've got the vacuum line in the front set up. It works fine. I think we're going to be okay there. Billy's new carburetor's laying here. We're going to try it out again once we get the truck back up and running and we know everything's okay. But anyhow, Billy went to eat dinner, and Vicky ran down to Buckeye Lake to go get pizza for us. So after dinner, we're going to come back out. I want to get this intake manifold put on because I can see that the intake manifold has been milled extensively, and I believe the heads have definitely been milled extensively, and the heads and the intake are a match set. What I'm concerned about is the distributor height. I had Billy go ahead and purchase a new MSD distributor with an adjustable collar, and I want to work on getting that distributor set in tonight and get the collar adjusted to shim the distributor gear so that it makes proper contact with the distributor gear on the camshaft. Now this camshaft has a cast iron gear, even though it's a billet roller. It has a pressed on cast iron gear, so we don't have to use a bronze distributor gear on this roller cam, which is going to be nice because those cam gears wear pretty quickly, or at least they seem to with us when we drive them on the street quite a bit. So let's see what else is new. Oh, Billy's turbos are going to be here. I think they shipped out either today or tomorrow from Forced Inductions. They sent me a message earlier today and said they were ready to ship. So I believe they either shipped out this morning or they're going to ship tomorrow. The engine for the Nova, I think it's still at the machine shop. And last I heard, Corey Box and his dad were still working on the machine work on that. Another little bit of information. See, when we blew up the 23-degree motor, we figured it was a teetotal loss. I figured everything from the intake manifold down was a total loss. Luckily, when we pulled the heads off, we found the heads were still salvageable. The valves are all bent, but other than that, the heads are good. So we left the heads up at Uncle Bob's the other day, and he's going to put all new valves in them, touch up the valve job. And since we've got a good set of 23-degree heads, we remembered we also have a short block laying back here, an old one. It was a Shaffer-off short block that we bought from Scott, and something happened. I think we hurt one of the pistons in it or something, and so we pulled it out, and so it's laying back there, but the block's got a crack between one of the cylinder bores and one of the head bolt holes. So since the block, I don't know, somebody might be able to fix this block, but I don't trust it. So Billy ordered another dart block, and we're going to go ahead and put the 23-degree motor back together and have it for a spare. So that's part of why I'm so concerned about making sure that the carburetor height is very close between the 18 and the 23-degree motor, because there's a chance the 23-degree stuff may end up back in it at some point. It's hard to tell. You know, we don't know what this little 18-degree motor is going to do. The heads are killer. Bob put the heads on his flow bench, and they flowed 360 CFM with no trouble on a 4125 fixture. So, you know, and that's a conservative number, but you know, we've never been this low on compression. We're 9.5 or 10 to 1 on compression. The old motor was 13 to 1. But the thing about the old motor is, you know, we were always battling trying to take power out of it on these back end of the track races where, you know, we were pulling 15 degrees of timing and leaving on no boost, and we just couldn't hardly take enough power out of it. And now we're hoping that we'll be on the other end of that, where we'll have to leave on a little bit of boost. Also, his transmission's here. Dion Vickers got the transmission all taken care of. He said transmission looked like new inside. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but it had definitely gotten hot. So we've switched to a 169 low gear set in the Power Glide. I really hate making all these changes at once, but it is what it is. I mean, we're going to struggle. I'm sure of it. I know we're going to struggle. All these changes, we changed the stator and went spragless, and changed the low gear ratio. We've changed camshaft, we've changed cylinder heads, we've changed compression ratio, intake manifold. We're literally starting from scratch. So all that testing that we had and all the knowledge that we had on tune-up and timing, and it's all out the window. So pray for us, guys. We're going to need it. I'm going to go in here and eat dinner. So what I want to do is I want to let that silicone set up, and then I want to set the intake manifold on, snug it down just a little bit without any silicone on the ends, and then I want to check the distributor gear mesh. We'll just set the collar. I want to do that before we silicone the intake on and finish it up. All right, so we've got the intake bolted down with just the 4 corner bolts, and I wanted to make sure that the intake fit correctly before we silicone the ends. And I also want to make sure we get the distributor set right, make sure this is going to work out. The only problem we've got is that the heads were originally on the opposite sides, and this intake has a notch here for this plug, this coolant plug, but this side here wasn't notched, and when we tightened it down, it put a little crack in that intake manifold there, which will notch that when we take it back off. So not a big deal, but it's just one of those things. We've never had this engine before. We've never put this engine together before, so there's little intricacies and oddities with every engine, and that's just one of this ones that we overlooked, but it's fine. Let's go see if we can get this distributor to fit in. All right, guys, so we've got a brand new MSD distributor, part number 85561. Okay, brand new out of the box, and these distributors come with a mechanical advance mechanism built in. You see how that twists? I'm holding the shaft and it twists. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called locking the distributor out so that it does not have any mechanical advance. And we do that because we're controlling the ignition advance and retard with the ignition box. So we don't want any advance or retard built into the distributor. So we pull this cap off, and you can see they come out of the box with these extremely heavy springs, which I've never ever seen a combination that had an MSD distributor in it that needed those heavy springs, but whatever, that's what they put in them. So to lock this out, we have to pull the distributor gear off the bottom and remove the main shaft out of the housing. So we're going to do that now. There's a roll pin right here in the distributor gear. Just knock that out with a punch. Okay. Slide the distributor gear off. Okay. Now you're going to have a couple of washers at the bottom. You're going to slide the distributor shaft out. Now, you're going to see underneath here this little nut. Okay, we got to remove that nut. Okay. Now we've got that nut removed, and then what we're going to do is we've got to remove these springs. Okay, so we're going to remove the advance weights off the end of the distributor. Then you're going to see that this shaft how it slides out, and it has this little blue bushing, and that little blue bushing goes down in that slot, and that's your advance limit bushing. Now in your package here, you'll see there's all different color bushings for different degrees of advance. Okay, but we don't want any advance, so we're going to remove the bushing, and you're going to take this shaft. Okay, see that's where it was? We're going to take that shaft and rotate it into the other side. And now it's locked. There is no advance mechanism. So put the nut back on, tighten it back up, and put the distributor back in, or back together. So slide the shaft back into the distributor. Just like so. Put your two washers back like they came. Now this distributor has a cast iron gear, and normally we would switch this out for a bronze gear, but since that camshaft has a cast iron gear pressed on it, we can go ahead and use the cast iron gear. You got that roll pin? What you doing there, Scrappers? Watch out, Scrappy. Back up. Papa's working. I'm working. Watch out, baby. I know what she wants. She wants to go back in. All right, so we're just going to set that roll pin back where it came. Tap it in there. There we go, perfect. All right, so So now we've got the slip collar adjusted where we need it. We've got the correct gasket. If you read the instructions, which I know most of you young men don't read instructions, but the instructions clearly state to use the red gasket on a slip collar. The gasket is a very tight fit on the shaft, and that is to decrease the chance of any oil leaks past the slip collar. Okay, so that distributor's ready to go. Just put the rotor back on. That's it, it's ready. All right, you got that intake notched? Let me see. Okay, yeah, that looks fine. Did you clean it all up?
I blew it off.
All right. Did you blow the runners out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're ready to run our silicone bead, and if you look, these gaskets don't come clear to the bottom of the head, so we've got to run a bead from here, and then we've got to put some back underneath the cylinder head. See, it's tricky. You got to make sure you get plenty of bead there to cover that gap. Now our intake gaskets are silicone to the heads, so they really shouldn't move. And it's important that you do that because a lot of times when you go to set the intake on, you have to move the intake back and forth to get it right where you want it. And if you don't have the gaskets silicone to the heads, the gaskets can move around on you. And we noticed that they did that, of course, when we test fitted it, but I think we're in good shape now. All we need to do is start the bolts in it. Started. Now what I always do is once you've laid the intake down on the block and before you've tightened it, take a rag and wipe the excess silicone from the block and the intake. Smooth it all up really nice, both ends. Once you've got it all cleared off, smooth it up, then tighten the intake down. You can see here it puts a nice perfect bead and squishes the silicone out perfectly. Now that we've got the intake bolted down nice and tight, I went ahead and installed our valve cover studs and laid the Moroso valve cover gaskets on while Billy's putting some oil in the crankcase through the distributor hole. We only put about 4 quarts in it so that it doesn't run out the turbo return line ports in the front of the pan. Next, we install the oil pump priming tool down the distributor hole. Spin the shaft until it locks in with the oil pump drive shaft, and then you're ready to go. Well, guys, we've got oil pressure, at least as far as the priming is concerned. Had 70 pounds of oil pressure on the drill. That's not too bad for the low speed setting on the drill. That's gonna about do it for tonight. We're pretty well tired. What time is it, Billy? 1 in the morning?
1:01.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, so I got to get up again in the morning and go. I got some dirt work to do in the morning. I got some riprap to move with the dump truck. I got to drop that spacer back off at Tim's, at the machine shop, my Uncle Tim's. We're awfully lucky to have family members that have the tooling and the machine tools that Tim has, because he does a fantastic job for us. He works on old equipment and antique dozers and track hoes and things like that. It's his hobby, but he does all kinds of repair work up there, and he always jumps right on it whenever we take something up there. So that's gonna about do it for tonight, guys. Thank you all for watching. See you tomorrow. Love y'all.